Go.
Ready? Oh, hey you guys. Sorry it's been so long. I'm busy teaching again, so it gets a little bit crazy. But I love spending time with you and giving you some information. I was going through my stuff today. Wow, my mannequin has a gray hair or a string right here. Sometimes they have strings, I guess because they tie them. Yeah, that's a string. Isn't that weird? Anyways, somebody had asked about a horizontal graduated haircut. The thing about a horizontal line is that it becomes a hard line. So there's variable ways to do it, and I chose to get this mannequin because we're going to take it pretty short. We're going to start out at the bottom, of course, right at the beyond the nape a little bit, and then bring it up for you to see how. I mean, it's just basically a graduated means one is on top of the other. That's basically all that means, is one overlays the other and gets longer as it up at the top of the head in this area here. Above, in other words, right at the parietal line, the apex, all of that above is going to reach down to the bottom. Many times a graduated haircut is kind of like an A-line. Graduated sometimes is brought out front. Graduated sometimes it's brought back. Just depends on the terms that are used. Just depends on what kind of haircut you got. I mean, we know that this is going to create the V haircut. If you want the V haircut, look it up because this creates that V haircut. The graduation going back here so many times is the A-line, but they were talking about a horizontal A-line. These are the mistakes that are made. Oh, before I finish, I've got another thread here. Wow, look at this mannequin. Do you see that red thread right there? Wow. Huh. Anyways, you're going to, I didn't part it off because I know where I'm going, but if you want to part it off at the parietal line, just to get some hair out of the way. You know where the parietal line is at, right? You know that we break the hair down into a whole lot more spaces than what the books do and so on. If you want to know where the parietal line is, you put it right at the frontal and including right here on a person's head and just go perfectly horizontal. It used to be called a horseshoe. That's your parietal line. And of course with men's hair cutting, you've got to know the upper ridge, the lower ridge, and that's in some books called the crest. Well, you can have a crest, but if you don't know where it starts or where it ends, that's when you have a problem. But anyways, so we're going to, when we're finished, we're going to take it tip of the ear to tip of the ear so that it's cupped around. But there's ways to do it. There's ways to cut it for result. First of all, I'm going to part off the flat part of the head. See that? That's flat. And if you see, that's where the comb leaves the head. You can see the part. I'm going to part it off on the other side. So the flat part of the head is where the comb leaves the head. That's that right there. Let me make sure it's all the way up on top. And get that out of the way. Because we're going to blend that into it. We're just working the back. And what you want when you're doing this cut, you want your client's head forward because we want maximum volume, and that's what's going to create the volume. Remember, the head form inverts in. When you pull this out, have you noticed when you do a 0 degree and they put their head down, if you held them straight up and you brought that hair straight down, this traveled. What's the law? What's the rule? When hair travels, it gets longer. So what happens is they'll be standing straight up, you'll cut it straight across, but as soon as they bend down to pick something up somewhere else, they're going to see this square piece. Where does that come from? Again, this nape line. And you'll see that little square spot come out underneath it, and it's like, oh, did they forget to cut that or something? But what they did was they didn't invert the head down and they didn't hold it close to the head form. So that hair now in this area lays close to the head form. This is, of course, we know the nape line. The other factor in doing this cut, I see so many people do it. And, so often it makes it really hard because certain people teach certain ways and stuff, and I don't ever like to infringe on. I respect other educators, so usually I just won't say anything. I'll just make recommendations. All right, so I'm going to bring it straight down, and what happens is people do this. They cut the primary method or palm to palm. When you do that, you're curling this up. Now I'm going to show you what's going to happen. I'm going to cut this down here, and what that's going to do is that's going to flip out. The way that it needs to be cut is secondary position, not primary, secondary. You know to hold the shears with the balls of your fingers, all right? So secondary position, primary position, extend it. All right, now see how that came up? All right, bring that elbow up and it'll fall right in for you, or bring the elbow in and it will happen for you. All right, so let's say now I'm going to cut it secondary position, straight down, stays down. That's the difference. If you roll it to face you and cut it what's called palm to palm, we call it primary position, and then you roll it between the fingers here, it's going to flip out. We want that to lay down, to lay hard. All right? So I'm going to take it right now, just the center nape. I'm going to go ahead and just take this off. I'm going to use secondary position. I'm going straight across. And I know you probably can't really see this, but I want you to see that finished cut. Because or else I have to get in front of you, and you know, we're just simple. We're not here to impress you. I'm here to teach you. All right, so it's the way it is, sorry. Okay, so now this hair right at the area, right at the curve of the head, because this is a curve right here as well. All right, it's not recognized very often, but this is a rounded part. You can put your hand there and it's rounded. The flat part is along the temporal area. We're going to bring this hair back. So this hair is going to come back to, in other words, create a straight line all the way across. That's what the graduation does. Now you'll see it in just a minute. Now forgive me if my arm is in the way, but that's secondary position. All right, bring that over. Have my guide. Secondary position. Now when I bring it down, this is ever so slightly longer than that center nape, ever so slightly. That's taking it horizontally and bringing it back. I turned off my phone. Somebody told me that when they call you more than once, it says do not disturb. Okay. Anyways, that it rings, so I'll give a call back here in a little bit. But all right. So now this is what I want you to see. I don't know. I'm hoping you can see it, but you see this little longer hair right in this area, and let me pull it down, and it's almost like a corner. That's what I'm talking about, that center nape, because this hair. Now this is the geometry of it. This is the detail of it, traveled out. So that corner is going to be there. So in order to get rid of that corner, I'm just going to point cut it to blend. I don't want to create a really, really hard line. I still want to keep it soft, so now we're good there. All right, so I'm going to take it over to the other side. Let me get my mannequin to do what it's supposed to do here. Sorry. Come on, Gertrude. Okay, there she goes. She's listening now. So you'll see it better on this side. You see how I separated that flat part of the head? This is where the comb leaves the head. So this hair now is going to travel back. And I don't want to overlap it. Be careful that this hair doesn't overlap into it. Straight across, secondary position, just straight across to blend with it. But again, you see this hair is traveling. There's your why. I'm always telling you the whys it happened. So there's your why on that. So I'm going to bring this over again, straight across. And you see that that comes over, and we'll probably find another corner, and there it is. Right there. But first let me show you. I got a little bit of a longer piece there. But let me show you, see how that kind of streams down a bit. So I'm just gonna nip that in the bud right there. And see, my client, she'd be standing up if I was doing this anyway, so I would nip it in the bud right on her as well. Now, a lot of times what educators do, they pick it up, they look at it like this. Okay, there it is. Yep, I knew it was gonna be there, right there. There's that corner again. Now we know why it happened. That hair at the lower nape traveled back. Specifics. So pick it up in the same spot on both sides, and it's even. Pick it up on the same spot here, pick it up on the same spot there, and we're even. All right? You don't have to be doing this. You can just quickly pick it up, you know you're even. If not, then you look for the corner. All right, so now I'm going to go up just a little bit higher, just like I said. We're going up higher, and what you're going to start seeing, you're going to see it build up a bit. So I'm going to go right up to the nape line, but I'm not going to follow the nape line. I'm going to the upper nape line right here at the center nape. And if you've got my diagrams on the different parts of the head, by the way, diagram this. It says cut hair to center, right here. To center occipital, that's what we're going to do in the end. Tip of the ear to tip of the ear. Direct hair up. In the end, that's what we're going to do. But we're going to casually or carefully do it. All right, so I'm going to take it now to that upper nape line, and you're going to see this hair now travel up as opposed to traveling down. But again, I want to make sure that I'm very focused on that very center. How do I know that I am at the center? I take the comb, where the comb leaves the head, right at the center crown, bring it straight down, and I know my section is correct. So I'm going to bring it up to that upper nape line. I'm going to hold it down, not out. If I hold it out, I'm going to create a slight layer. I don't want to create a slight layer. I want to create, and this is what you get with a horizontal graduation. I think don't do that to your client. A slight graduation there. Yeah, this mannequin doesn't fit very good on this stand, so she's wiggling a bit like those rebellious clients do. Okay, so out and down so that I have it secondary, not primary, secondary. Across. Okay, now you see a hard line right there. So the rest of it is also going to come, pull that up, and I have my guide right here. I can see it. I hope you can see it on film, but it's right there. So I'm going to pick it up, taking it right to the exact, see, that's why you've got to know where that upper nape line is at. If I didn't know that, I'd be guessing. I'm not guessing. So remember, no more than 2 knuckles on your cut, bringing that straight back again. Secondary position. Oh, what did I just do? I just turned it this way, didn't I? See, it becomes habit. So I want to make sure that it's a hard line, or what's going to happen, and you'll see it in a minute, it's going to stick up. Okay, let's bring those fingers down so we can create that nice cupping, and it will cup. But see, this won't. This will, because I held my fingers down. If you're wondering why isn't it cupping, why is it sticking out, this is cupping and blending. So I'm going to take this real quick and just nip those ends. Now she cups. Take those ends, remember, secondary position. And then I'm going to bring this up again, clean it up into that secondary position, Make sure and turn your fingers down. This is what's going to separate you from other stylists. This is what's going to take you a, not a pun, notch above. Okay, so we've got this, and yes, she's slightly longer because what? This hair traveled back. So I'm going to, let me wet it down just a bit more. So this is a horizontal graduation. This is along the back, so it means it's graduating up. So I'm going to turn her just a bit, but I've got to stand in this direction. I'm sorry, I can't turn her. I hope you can see, because I've got to bring that hair back, hold it down, fingers down, fingers down. Okay, I went a little too low that time. Let me take it up. I'm trying to work around so you guys can see. There it is. Okay. Still staying at that upper nape line. There you go. And bring that back. See? It's easy to do because you're trying to look at it, and I'm trying to show you guys. But we're even. There you go. Yep. All right, so what do we do with this hair? How many of you are familiar with scissor over comb? Because that's what you're going to do. If you pick it up and squeeze it with your fingers, you're not going to get, excuse me, you're not going to, oh, by the way, you guys, how many of you have got this? I hope all of you. It's a pretty good book. I got to say it's a pretty good book. I got good reviews on it and stuff. And that last chapter about color is pretty clear. If you don't know that, if you don't have that in your brain, you're totally dependent on the color wheel, what product people tell you, all of that. I do plan in the future of doing an extensive color class. I've been getting requests for that. But before we do it, I will tell you, I want you to pause and get something to write with. I want you to send me questions, because we can make this a series if you guys want. And the biggest problem is with color, I'll be honest with you, is your possibly your computer screen is going to maybe show a different tone. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get a level finder and work on those, because then we'll be speaking the same language pretty much. So if we all have level finders, so be thinking about, you know, if you pick up a color product or something, to get a level finder with it so that you can see how that color's made, what's going to happen, and what choices you can make with it, okay? That's going to be for the future. So anyways, yeah, look at the book. It's on Amazon, Walmart, a whole bunch of places are carrying it. Barnes & Noble, can order it through them. All right, make sure you get the book. Okay, so we're going to do scissor over comb. You can hold your comb with your full hand if you want. That's okay. You know, you're going to see barbers hold their comb in this form with the fingertips, and they turn it. And usually, many times what they use, and I've used them in the past, are the clipper combs or the real big combs. But with this particular cut, we don't really need to do that. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut it just underneath that line, but we're going to hold the comb at a slight angle. In other words, this angle. We're not going to hold it flat. We don't need it flat right now. We're going to hold it at a slight angle because we want that taper, and it's a taper. It's going to taper in. All right? So let's take it and secondary position again. You see that's getting shorter. There's my guide. And see that's cupping in real nice. Now this time, instead of bringing it out, we're following the head form. In other words, I'm traveling around it. My comb is here. My comb will then travel around in this direction, and it'll travel in this direction to pick this up. And go down. You always go up first. Go up to your line first. Slight angle. And what I'm doing is I'm carving. So my first angle is this, my next one is that, and then when I get to the bottom, it's this. Carving into it. So look at the comb. Just look at the comb. Take it, come in this form. Next line. Comb is a little flatter. This time, this line, very flat. Okay, so you can kind of see how now that hair is shorter. And then just gradually crawl up, just like about a ½ inch every time. And you can see your hair cup around into that and become graduated up into it. Okay, and like I said, this time we're not bringing it back, not on this hair. All right, we're going to travel up to the guide. One more, change the position of the comb slightly. And this time, the comb is almost flat to the head. So pause this sometimes if you're not sure, what you're hearing. Okay, now I'm going to take it tip of the ear to tip of the ear, occipital. And we're going to do the exact same thing. This hair is going to travel. This hair is going to be cut right at, at a 45-degree angle from where it's at. So tip of the ear to tip of the ear, occipital. I'm going to bring it up, bring this up, and again, fingers down. It will cup when you do the fingers down. If you do it primary and then palm to palm or whatever that is, it's going to flip out and you're going to wonder, why isn't this laying down like hers did? Because you have to bring the fingers down, secondary position. All right. And everything now comes to that line, but straight across and kind of over directed to the back. And it just depends on how much of a curve you want. If you over direct it almost to the center back, you're going to get more of a curve. If you just direct it to the back, you're going to get just a slight curve. Just depends on what you want as far as a finish. Now I've got this line coming across, and what I'm thinking about doing is maybe highlighting a lot of my mannequins so that you can see it a little better, because I know this is dark. Okay, again, did I turn my fingers on the last one? You guys, you have to tell me now. I want to make sure. And you're beginning to see that, yes, it's still cupping. I'm not sure if you can see this line, but do you see now this line? Okay, we're going to do the same thing again. Going to bring it over, and you notice that her head is down the entire time. And I'm going to take that off, clean that up, and then come to it. And again, travel around it. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this so you can see it. And see, we can take this as short as we want. It doesn't have to be this length. We can take it as short as we want on this. So again, I'm at my line. A little bit of a slight different angle. And I'll just do it this way. So you see that graduated look. And a lot of people like it because it really puffs up back here. And then many ladies get it cut real short along this area. Now, what are we going to do with the sides? Well, we're going to have her put her head up. Come on, Gert. There you go. I don't know, do you name your mannequins? All right, so I'm going to wet this. And you can see that nice volume we're getting. And see that little forward motion there. And it's all cupping under. It's not, dancing around. It's almost combing itself. And that's what happens when you hold your fingers in this form instead of palm to palm. That's the trick with it, all right? So you have to think about what you're doing. As I'm teaching, sometimes I know you see me turn my fingers and I don't mean to, but I did. I will be thrown in the dark room. All right, so see how I have it down? All right, down with the fingers, bring it to the guide. Down with the fingers, and see how far hair travels. It does what? It gets longer. Do you see that? Now I've got one little long piece right there. And you see that it just flows right into it. So she's still, and then if she wants this shorter, all you do is turn her over to the side and just slightly, let's say she wants this a little shorter, because this is way up here. We're not going to travel as far back. That's all. Just don't travel as far back. Just come back to that guide. But the one thing that you don't want to do is this. Well, let me see. Let me see what I need to do here. Because then you're really going to have, I see a little piece right there. You're really going to have a hard line. Now, where do you suppose this little corner is coming from after I pulled it back? That's this. This hair traveled back with it. So what happens is that outline, see it? Travels back, just clean it up. That's your why. You didn't do anything wrong, you did everything right. All right? How much time do we have, cameraman?
3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay, so I'm gonna do the other side real quick, but you can see that nice look that's graduated up. It's brought up real nice, and this was with a layered haircut. Somebody just wants a little bit of a change, and something you can recommend. And they still have it kind of looking long up front. It actually looks pretty snappy on people. So I'm going to match the other side. Let's see. Again, fingers down. Bring it over. Fingers down. And I'm cutting, you can see I'm cutting straight across. But because it's going to do it by itself, and again, what do we have here? That corner. Right there. That's normal. Our little Gertrude here is normal. Okay, but see how I can make it just cup under? And it'll do that for you. So we're not going to worry too much about the bangs, but if she had the bangs, you know, it just depends on what they want with that. One of the things I like to do with this cut is I like to separate out the frontal fringe and give it, you want to hold it vertically. And I'm just going to cut this and then we're going to say bye. Because I want you to see how it's going to fall and cup around the face as well. Do not cut this horizontally. Cut it vertically. And see that cup around the face? It's light, it's slightly layered, and it looks great. Take care. We'll see you again.